thoughts and new experiences, right? Okay, if I can get this box open. Okay, there we go. Well, I keep them all in my box because my puppy has eaten my cards before. So I used to keep them out, but it's just not safe. Then you come and you're like, I have nice eaten cards. That's awesome. Okay, well let's pull the card first, and then we'll get right into the practice. I'm just gonna, where was that here? Okay, so let's come to a comfortable seated position. You can close the eyes, we'll sit up tall. Let's bring the shoulders up towards the ears and then let them roll down the spine. Making sure our chin is level, our head and our spine is elongated. And as we take a deep breath in, just feel the torso expand with that beautiful inhale. And then as we exhale, just letting the shoulders go, releasing, getting centered. Let's do 2 more focused breaths just like that. Another beautiful, deep, expansive breath, letting the entire torso fill with that air. And then again, letting the breath go. As we take this 3rd focused, expansive breath, we're just completely imagining we're surrendering, being open to our practice today. And we'll leave ourselves open for the message from our divine guides. What message do they have for Donna this morning? What would they like to share as we go through the practice? Oh, I feel this is perfect. We got the card of change. That was the card we got today. So we'll go into that card as we go through the practice. Let's take 1 more breath, and this time let's bring those arms overhead with the inhale, letting the arms extend towards the sky. And exhale, bringing them to heart center. Let's do that 2 more times, getting those arm rotations and the arms moving. Another deep breath in, rotating those arms overhead. And the exhale, bringing the hands back through heart center. 1 last breath, rotating those arms in that direction. Deep, full inhale. Maybe imagine those shoulder blades can touch as we come up. And exhale, back to heart center. We'll keep the thumbs pointing towards the chest, keeping the elongation. Let's add a twist. So core strong, belly button to spine, lengthening through the torso. And let's gently twist over to the left. We'll start that way. We can start to gaze or keep the eyes closed as we twist to the left. Deep breath in, lengthening, and exhaling, coming back through center. Making sure we're aligned, let's take another deep inhale, and slowly we'll twist to the right this time. Just again, as always, noticing how it feels as we start to add this movement. On the next breath, again, imagining the belly button to spine as we come back through center. And release. Let's take those arms once more overhead, deep breath in. And let's stretch through the sides of the body. Let's ground this time. We'll start with the right side. We'll ground the right hand by the right hip. Lengthen through that left. Imagine yourselves pulling those left fingers towards the ceiling and keeping the seated bones grounded as we start to lean over to the right. Sort of that beautiful elongation, maybe from the hip all the way through the side of the body. The gaze can be to the center, maybe to the inside of the arm, whatever feels appropriate this morning. Another beautiful deep breath. And then we're going to use those core muscles once again, belly button to spine, to come back up through center. And we'll gently let that hand come back to the mat. Ground that left hand. Let that right arm lengthen. Again, imagine someone's pulling it towards the ceiling, keeping the right hip grounded. And gently coming into that elongation on this side. Once more, find whatever's most appropriate for the neck. Deep breath in. Exhaling, imagining those fingers might get to the floor. And then we're going to use those core muscles as we come back up. And gently release. Perfect. So let's bring our legs forward so they're elongated. I'm going to move this camera just back a little bit more here. And hopefully we've got our strap nearby. Let's grab our strap. Let's put it right around the feet. We'll come into our Paschimottanasana this morning. So sitting up nice and tall, we'll move the flesh from our seated bones. Feet are active. We'll place the strap right around the tops of the feet. Grabbing evenly with the right and the left hand. And we're going to bend the knees a little bit this morning as we come into this pose. So we'll bend those knees, opening through the torso, do a little bit of a back bend, gazing to the ceiling. And then, as we've done before, we want to imagine that we're just bending from the hips. So we just start to come towards the torso, bending from the hips, shoulders away from the ears. Can close the eyes if we like. We're imagining we've got that beautiful flat back. The eyes can gaze to the toes or closed. Let's take our deep breath in, that beautiful deep inhale coming slightly out. As we exhale, just imagining that we can get just a little bit closer, the torso to the thighs. Let's take one more deep breath here. Imagine that we're being elongated as well, so that spine is still long and strong. And then on that last exhale, we can release the strap and we can let ourselves melt gently over the legs. Maybe letting ourselves grab the shins, the ankles, whatever we can reach. And as we're here, we can bend the legs. So maybe we start to straighten one leg, bending the opposite, hold for a moment, and then we can bend one leg, straighten, pushing through the heel on the other. Just feeling that lengthen through the back of the legs. Maybe noticing too, are we getting a little bit of a stretch into the back of the body, into the hips, the lower back. Let's send our breath there. We'll take another beautiful deep breath in. And as we exhale, just imagine maybe we're sending it into the back of the legs, the hamstrings, the calves, maybe into the lower back, the hips. Let's take one more deep breath here. Let the torso expand. So consciously imagine that the entire torso expands with that breath. And as we exhale, this is our final surrender as we're in this forward fold for this moment. Just letting everything go. Imagine we can reach past our toes, just letting everything go. And then we'll slowly bring ourselves back up through to seated. Let's continue warming up. We'll do our seated cat and cow. So again, sitting up nice and tall, place the hands right onto the thighs. We start to bring the chest forward, imagining the tailbone and the top of the head come behind us and can touch, so we're stretching through the front of the body. And then as we exhale, rounding the chin to the chest, getting that letter C, rounding the spine. As always, feel free to keep those eyes closed if that feels good. Feeling each part of the vertebrae move. So as we inhale, opening, shoulders back, tailbone back, opening through the neck. And exhaling, letting the breath go. We'll do 3 more at our own pace, feet with the breath. So as we inhale, we're opening. And as we exhale, we're just letting that go. Last 2 rounds. Really exaggerating that we're getting squeezed as we let the air release. And let's do one final seated cat and cow. And as we let go, we'll just hold. Imagine once we're at the bottom and there's no more air, we can just squeeze out that little bit more air. And then coming back up through to seated. So we can keep our legs straight if we like, or cross them. And if you do cross them, just try to cross them the opposite way that we did from before. And we're going to bring our hands onto our shoulders, so the thumbs are on the back of the shoulders, fingers are in the front, and we're going to add a twist once again. So we're going to sit up tall, imagine we're being elongated, and let's twist to the left. So we'll bring that right shoulder forward, or elbow, sorry, as the left elbow, or left, right, whichever one. One's going behind us, one's coming forward. Inhale, coming back through center. Exhale, we'll twist to the opposite direction, bringing that elbow forward. Again, the gaze can follow to the back elbow. We'll come once more back through center. And let's draw little circles with our elbows. So let's pick one direction. And we'll just draw some circles, little tiny, maybe oranges with the elbows. And then we'll switch, and we'll do the other direction. We're doing about 5 or 6. And then we'll come back through center, so we've got that 90 degrees with our arms to our torso. And then we're going to gently bring the elbows towards each other. Inhaling, we'll open them up. And then imagine that the elbows can touch behind us. We just want to feel that stretch into the chest and into the shoulders. Let's continue. Inhale, back through center. Exhale, let's let the elbows come towards each other. Inhale. Exhale, imagine they can touch behind us. You're way teddy. Last time, inhale. Exhale, bring those elbows towards each other. And inhale with that deep breath in. And really exaggerate that the elbows can touch behind us. And then we'll gently come back through center. Let's unwind, releasing the arms. Let's slowly make our way to all fours. Get off my mat, please. Let's make our way through to all fours. And let's come through our full cat and cow. So if you need some extra padding, you're always welcome. Grab a pillow or just roll your mat up so you've got a little bit of padding under your knees. And then we'll spread our fingers nice and wide. Toes can be tucked or flat. And let's go through the full cat and cow. So when you're ready, we'll drop the belly, tailbone, and the top of the head towards each other. Feel that deeper stretch into the torso, imagining the top of the head and the tailbone can touch. And then as we exhale, letting the breath go. Let's do 2 more. Deep, full breath. Nice and slow. Really feel each part of the vertebrae moving and that belly being stretched. Let that exhale go. We're getting squeezed as we let the air release. Let's do 1 more here. Taking that beautiful breath in and exhale, letting that breath completely go. And while we're here, let's come back to our flat back. Let's just do 1 balance pose, and then we're going to come into our first restorative pose of child's pose. So from all fours, we're just going to extend through our right arm. So we're just going to let our right arm come forward, palm towards the floor, fingers pointing to the top of the mat, staying nice and balanced. So we've got that strong core. Deep breath in. Imagine someone's pulling our fingers towards the top of the mat. And then exhale, let that hand come back to the floor. Realign. Ground that right hand, and then when you're ready, let's do that with the left hand. We're just going to extend that left hand forward, fingers are being pulled towards the top of the mat. Another beautiful deep breath in. And when you're ready, exhale, letting that hand come to the floor. So we'll do each leg. So making sure our fingers are grounded. We're balanced. Let's start with that right leg. So when you're ready, we'll start to push that right leg, lengthening behind us, toes pointing towards the floor. We imagine we can get that heel up to about hip height or glute height. And even if it's not there, don't worry about it. We just want to keep our hips square to the mat. Strong core, belly button to spine. And we're pushing through that heel. Let's take just another moment, another deep breath here. And gently bring that knee to the floor. We'll balance once more. And then when you're ready, let's move on to that left leg. We'll extend through that left leg again, imagining, if we can't quite, get that heel up to glute height, toes pointing towards the floor. One last breath, and let that knee come back down. And let's grab our bolster. Let's place it right between the legs as we gently come into our child's pose. Okay, I've been gone for a little while. I have some dust on my bolster. So opening those legs nice and wide. Let the forehead or either ear come to the bolster, whatever feels good. We'll let those arms come forward. And let's start to release. So as we come into this child's pose, let's take our 3 deep breaths, getting ourselves centered. It's that beautiful deep inhale, letting the torso expand. And then with that exhale, just imagining that we can get a little closer to the bolster, imagining that maybe we're like butter melting over a bun, and we can just sink even closer to the floor, to the mat. Let's take 1 final deep breath here. And then completely letting ourselves go, feeling released into our bolster. And now that we're here, Let's come to our positive I am phrase. So we've done this before. Maybe we want to change it up. We're going to bring in our phrase of positivity. What do we want to create? I am abundant. I am prosperous. It might be a couple of things. I am abundant and peaceful. So we want to start with that I am, and then whatever it is that we want to create. And once we've got the words, we're going to see the words come across our mind's eye. I am abundant and peaceful. We'll internally repeat it 2 more times. See those words come across our mind's eye. I am. I am. On this next time, we can let those words dissipate. And we want to imagine seeing a movie screen on our mind's eye. And we're going to see ourselves in this I am phrase. So if it's peaceful or abundance, we just imagine that we're watching ourselves on a movie screen. We see ourselves up there. And we see ourselves in that I am. What does it look like to be abundant, peaceful, prosperous, in perfect health, whatever it is? What do we look like? Who is with us? Who are we talking to? Are there sights, sounds, sensations? We'll just take the next few moments to allow ourselves to imagine and create this visualization of our I am phrase. Once we've got that and we've seen this perfect I am, how that looks, don't worry, we can always add more. We'll just let it resonate for just another moment, and maybe we internally see the words come across our movie projector, our screen here, with our I am in perfect health, abundance, prosperous. And then we just let those words dissipate off to the right side and the images. And if we're lying on one ear, we're going to gently switch to the other side. And just notice how that feels if we switch sides with our ears. And let's come back into our breath once again, another few deep breaths. A beautiful exhale. Just letting that go. And now, as we're here, and we're in this beautiful still place, let's bring back the card that we pulled, the idea of change. And just notice what comes up in your mind's eye when you think of change. Maybe there's visualizations, maybe there's words, maybe there's sensations in your own body. When you think of change, what comes into your mind, into your mind's eye, into your body, into your being? There's no right or wrong. We're becoming the observer. So we just notice whatever is triggered, whatever sensations, thoughts come up with the idea of change. And whatever came up, we just let it slowly go. And we start to come into our card today. The card of change shows you that it is a time in your life for big changes. Changes you had no idea were coming. These changes have forced you to dig deep inside, the many chambers of your heart to discover the wonderfulness of your being and the strength you were simply unaware you had. Just notice again. Does that bring up any new ideas towards the change? Changes that may have been new, may have come up recently. We'll take just another moment here. And we can let that all slowly dissipate. And as we take another breath in, we're going to start to prepare. We're going to transition into our next pose. So when we're ready, we'll take another beautiful deep breath in. Let the entire torso expand with this inhale. And then as we exhale, we'll prepare to start our moving. As we start to push ourselves away from the bolster, gently coming up through seated. And we'll keep our eyes either closed or just in that calm state. And we're going to slowly make our way onto lying on the mat. We'll have the bolster nearby, but we're not going to use it. We're going to come into our thread the needle with our legs this morning. So we'll gently make our way to lying on the mat. And when we're there, we can start by hugging the knees into the chest, maybe rocking side to side, releasing the lower back, or making some circles onto the ceiling. As always, taking the moment to check in and notice how this feels. And then when you're ready, let's place our right leg onto the mat. And we'll bring that left leg across the right thigh, so we're making that triangle with our legs. As always, this is the first variation. If this feels good, we're going to work with that. We want to make sure our right and our left shoulder are rocked under, the chin is slightly tucked. And then, of course, you can use that left hand to encourage left leg away, being mindful that we don't put any pressure onto the knee. Now, if that feels good, perfect. Stay right there. Or, of course, you're welcome to bring the right leg off the mat, bringing the legs closer to the torso. This time the left leg can come between the legs and the right can come from behind. And we can gently grab that right thigh, bringing the leg closer to the torso. Just making sure whichever variation we do, we keep our spine long, the chin slightly tucked. And if you do pull the leg and you've got some space with your left elbow, you can push the left leg away with the elbow. As always, just making sure we're not putting any discomfort into the knee. And once more, as we come into this pose, let's take 3 deep breaths, opening up. So as we take that deep, full inhale, maybe imagining we're bringing in that beautiful, golden, healing energy. And then with the exhale, we're just creating space. So if we feel some tightness in our glute, our back, our legs, just imagine that as we let go of that breath, we're creating space into the body. We'll do that 2 more breaths, focusing on bringing in that beautiful healing breath. Letting the entire torso expand. Breath is key to our health. And then consciously and mindfully letting that breath slowly dissipate. Imagining there's just a little more space to move into this pose. One last deep, full breath here onto maybe breathing into that left side, that left hip, glute, leg, wherever again we might be feeling a little bit of discomfort or a little bit of tightness. And then we let that go. Once again, let's bring back our I am phrase that we've picked for today. Let's see the words. Maybe the screen appears in our mind's eye and we see our I am abundant, in perfect health, peaceful, whatever it is. We see our words come across our mind's eye. And we internally repeat it 3 times. The words dissipate over to the right as we let the sentence go, and then reappear over the left as they start to be written across our screen or our mind's eye. And on that third or fourth time, we just let the words dissipate. And once again, we'll just come back to visualizing ourselves in that I am phrase. Visualizing ourselves as being peaceful, in perfect health, abundant. And what does abundance mean if that is that? So allow yourself, as we hold for just a few more moments, just to visualize and see yourself in that I am phrase. We'll take just one last breath. Maybe we see our I am phrase, or we see ourselves just for this last moment living this perfect I am. And then as we exhale, the image starts to dissipate off to the right side of our screen. And if the right foot is off the floor, make sure it's grounded first. And we're going to transition this right into a twist. We're going to let that left foot start to head over to the right side of the mat. Now if our bolster's there, our foot can gently land on the bolster, or we can just move it out of the way. If it does become too much, you can always unwind your legs. And it's not important that the left leg touches the floor. We just want to feel that twist. Keeping the shoulders flat to the mat, the arms at cowboy surrender at 90 degrees or out to a T. And then we can gaze away. So this time we want to gaze over to the left as we're twisting to the right. And if it feels good, you can use that right hand to assist the left leg over to the right even more. Just finding that perfect deep stretch, that twist that feels good. Once more, we're going to take those 3 focused deep breaths. Focusing that as we inhale, we're completely expanding through the front, the sides, maybe even imagining, if we can't quite feel the breath go into the back of the body, the entire lungs fill up the rib cage with that breath. We feel the expansion through the torso. And then slowly exhaling, imagining as we let that breath go that there's a little more space once again. 2 more times, beautiful deep breath. Again, intend that the breath fills the front of the lungs, into the side, and even the back, or imagine, as our body doesn't know the difference. If we can imagine it as if it is real, our body will think it is real. We'll take one final deep focused breath, filling up the entire lungs, imagining that we're lifting off the mat as we bring in that breath. And with that final exhale, just the left knee might be able to go a little closer to the right side of the mat. Imagining we can go that tiny bit deeper into the twist for this last moment. And as we let go of the breath, we'll prepare. We're going to use those core muscles, or imagine belly button to spine, pulling up on the pelvis. Inhaling as we come back through center. And we'll gently release the left leg. Let's take a moment. We can just stretch the leg out, maybe to the sky, or bring both legs into the chest, rocking side to side, whatever feels good to release. And then we'll do that sequence on the other side. So when you're ready, let's place that left foot onto the ground. The right leg will come across the left thigh. Again, making that triangle. Notice how each side feels. We're going to go where it feels appropriate. So maybe this is perfect again, or maybe we want to go deeper. So first option, keep it here. Let that right hand gently encourage that right leg away, feeling that beautiful stretch. Or we start to bring that left leg off the mat. The right hand comes between the legs. The left comes from the outside as we gently pull that leg towards the torso. Making sure the shoulders are rocked under, the chin is slightly tucked so the spine is still long. Full deep breaths once again. That beautiful deep inhale. With the exhale, just imagining maybe there's a little more space. Maybe we can use that right elbow to encourage the right leg away, or maybe we can get the left leg a little closer to the torso, or whatever, maybe going that tiny bit deeper. Another beautiful deep breath in. And that slow, gentle exhale. Just one more focused breath. Really exaggerate this time in case we haven't, that we're extending that exhale, making that exhale as long as possible. Releasing the breath slowly as if it's just a tiny little hole as we let the breath go. And then as we let the breath come back to its natural pace, once again, let's come back to the message today, the message of change. You are at a time in your life of big changes. Changes you had no idea were coming. These changes have forced you to dig deeply inside of the many chambers of your heart to discover the wonderfulness of your being and the strength you were simply unaware you had. Perhaps you are getting a taste of this strength for the first time. Be unafraid of your lush and beautiful succulence. Instead, dance. Dance in front of the moon. Dance in the fullness of your being. Keep dancing. The rest of you will catch up. Stay here for just another moment. Maybe with the breath or contemplating on our message change. And then as we exhale, we're going to transition this side into a twist like we did on the other. So if that left foot is off the mat, let it come back to the mat. And we're going to slowly let that right foot start to head over to the left side of the mat. Again, if you have a bolster or a block and you'd like to let the foot land on it, you're welcome to. Or if it does become too much, because each side's different, just unwind the legs and let yourself come into a traditional twist if that feels better this morning. Let those arms come out to a T or cowboy surrender, or that T out to the side as we gaze away from the legs. And this time, let's just take a moment to notice, how does this side feel? Maybe comparing it to the other side. So as we take that beautiful deep breath in, we're scanning the body, just noticing how this side might feel. Is it similar? Does it feel different? And then letting the exhale go. 2 more focused breaths again, letting the entire torso expand. And if there is some tightness, maybe imagining we're bringing in that beautiful healing breath, that golden light. And intending as we exhale, that we're just releasing if there's some tightness in the hips, the legs, the torso. We're just breathing and just imagining with that exhale that it's blowing away and dissipating any tightness. So we come through that last deep breath again, allowing the entire torso to expand, the front, the sides, the back of the body. And releasing. We'll stay here for just a few more moments with the breath. Or maybe just a gentle mantra with our breath. So as we inhale, maybe we have an in. And as we exhale, we maybe say out or exhale. Or maybe we're going to contemplate on the message of change. Whatever feels appropriate, as we just hold for just another few moments here. Over the next breath, as we come back in, let the torso once again expand. And as we slowly let that exhale go, we're going to prepare, we're going to activate those core muscles, or we pretend, we imagine. Belly button to spine, coming up on the pelvis, we're going to bring the legs back through center. And if they're still in that thread the needle, release the legs, and shake it out, bring the knees into the chest, whatever feels appropriate. And we're going to gently roll over to our right. We're going to take a moment here in recovery. We're not going to move too much, but we're going to come back up to a seated position to transition into the next pose. So as we come into our recovery over on our right side, just take that moment to check in once again. How is everything feeling? How is the body? How is the mind? And whatever we have, if there was any distractions, just imagine as we exhale that we just release any noise, any distractions that might have come up. Let's take another deep breath in. And as we stay in this beautiful, relaxed state, we're going to slowly just bring ourselves back up to seated. You can keep the eyes closed, or just gently gazing forward. And we're going to grab our bolster. We're going to place it parallel to the long edge of the mat. And we're going to open up through the torso. So this is the one where we're going to let our entire spine be supported by the bolster. So it's parallel to the long edge of the mat. We're going to align so the tailbone is aligned to the bottom. And we're just going to let the spine come on to the bolster. All the way up, tuck the chin so the top of the neck is supported as well. Legs can be crossed, straight, bent, whatever feels good for your legs this morning. And then once we're here, we're really exaggerating opening through the chest. That's where we want to feel it. So imagine that the right shoulder is rolling over the right side. The left shoulder is rolling over the left side of the bolster. Let the hands be supported by the mat, the palms facing the sky. And once more, just like we do each time, we're going to take those deep, full breaths. So as we inhale, we let the torso expand. Notice how the breath travels within this pose. That slow, gentle exhale. Imagining maybe we can melt, open up just that little bit deeper over the bolster. Again, beautiful inhale, the torso is expanding through the front, the sides. Again, imagining we can feel the back of our body lifting off the bolster with the breath. And then as we exhale, we're just releasing maybe the arms, the shoulders. A little bit more as we let the breath go. We do that third deep, full, expansive breath. And then completely imagining we're surrendering, releasing, and letting go. Being completely supported by the bolster on the floor. Feeling that beautiful opening into the torso, the chest, the back, maybe even into the shoulders. And let's come once more back into our I am phrase. We'll see the movie screen come across our mind's eye, seeing it on our mind's eye. And we'll see the words. Maybe they're sparkly, maybe they're being handwritten or typed as they come across our mind's eye. I am. I am. I am. And as we let that last I am start to dissipate off to the right, we'll once again see ourselves on that movie screen. Seeing ourselves in this I am phrase. If it's perfect health, how do we look? Who are we talking to? What are they saying to us? What does it feel like to be in perfect health? Are there sights, sounds, sensations? Allow yourself this opportunity to bring in all the dimensions of your imagination and your creativity. And intend that it is happening. And see it on this movie screen. See your abundance, your health, your peace, whatever it is. And stay here if you'd like with your I am phrase and seeing yourself in that perfect I am. And whenever you're ready, either stay there longer and then when you're done, or now if you'd like to let it go, just allow that image to gently slide off to the right and dissipate. And we can stay focused with our breath, taking those deep, full inhales and slow, gentle exhales. Or with our I am phrase as we hold for just another minute or so here in this beautiful opening into our chest and shoulders. So we take our next breath in, just slowly coming back to our body. Let the torso expand once more with that breath. And as we exhale, just imagine that we can release even more on this final exhale. And of course, there's no rush as we slowly transition. If your legs are crossed, let them become uncrossed. We'll straighten them out. And gently, just like we did before, we'll slowly roll over to the right. We can let the bolster slide behind us as we come into this recovery pose just for a moment or so. Checking in and noticing how that feels. How is the back, the torso, the hips? Just notice. And if there is some tightness or dis-ease in the body, let's use that breath. Bring in that next spacious breath. See it, visualize it, intend that it's bringing in space. And imagine that it's going right where it is. So if there's some tightness in the hips or the shoulders, we're just imagining that that exhale is just blowing and releasing it and creating some space. Take another breath in. Send it, if it's needed, into the body. And feel it loosening up and releasing. On the next breath, we'll bring our left hand to assist us as we slowly bring ourselves back up through seated, keeping ourselves in this beautiful, relaxed state. And we're going to gently transition into our wide-legged seated pose with our bolster. So keeping ourselves in a relaxed state, we're going to come up to seated. We're going to open up our legs nice and wide. And if you've got your block nearby, we'll use that as well. We're going to grab our bolster. We can place it either parallel or horizontal between the legs, whatever you prefer. And then you can use that block on top of it to support us. So however you want to put the bolster, doesn't really matter. We're just going to sit up tall. We're going to have that block hopefully handy to support the head. We'll take a deep breath in. We'll rotate our arms overhead. And then as we exhale, we're going to start to fold forward. So we can let that block catch your chin if we would like. If we can even make it. I'm quite tight today. But while we're here, be mindful of the knees. So make sure you have a little bend in the legs so we're not putting any pressure onto the knees. And then we just let ourselves start to fold forward. Let the head be supported if we've got our block and our bolster there. And if you don't need it and you can get it even further, or it's a little more comfortable to do this and just let the head drop, you're welcome to do that as well. And then let's once again come into those 3 deep breaths. So that beautiful deep inhale. So we inhale, maybe we're imagining we're coming slightly out of the pose. And then with the exhale, we can get just a little bit closer to the bolster or the floor. Feel that beautiful deep breath again. We're imagining we can expand through the front, the back, the sides of the torsos with the breath. And then with that exhale, we're just finding that little bit of room. Imagining we can go just a tiny bit closer towards our bolster, our arms, the floor. One more focused, deep breath. Let the entire torso, again, the front, the sides, imagining and intending the breath goes into the back of the body. And then completely surrendering as we let that breath go. Just notice, even if you only have like a micromillimeter more space than you did before, just from that breath, we found that tiny bit more space to go forward. And let's come back once more to the message of change this morning. These changes have forced you to dig deeply inside the many chambers of your heart to discover the wonderfulness of your being and the strength that you were simply unaware you had. Perhaps you are getting a taste of this strength for the first time. Be unafraid of your lush and beautiful succulents. Instead, dance. Dance in front of the moon. Dance in the fullness of your being. Keep dancing. The rest of you will catch up. You are magnificent. You are magnificent. You are magnificent. You are at a time in your life of big changes. And as we hold for these next few moments, just contemplate. What changes do you see coming? What changes are you open for? What changes would you like to see? Just allow yourself this next moment to contemplate what big changes might be right there on the horizon that you would like to manifest or be open to. As we come through our next exhale, we start to come back to our body in case we wandered away. And if we did get distracted, just notice. And then use that next exhale to just let that slowly go. Over the next breath, as we bring in that beautiful deep inhale, once again we'll start to push ourselves away from the bolster, the block. So we gently come back up through seated. And we're just going to take our time to bring those legs close together. We'll remove the bolster off to the side. There's no rush. We bend those knees. Notice how that feels. And take a moment. We'll shake that out. And then we'll come one more time to a seated position. Legs be crossed or legs straight. And let's just stretch through the shoulders and the triceps. So let's bring our left arm towards the sky. We're going to bend the elbow. So we're going to see if we can bring the hand to the back of our shoulder. We're going to use the opposite hand to gently pull that elbow towards the ceiling. Just getting that last little stretch here into the upper body, the shoulders. If that feels good, just try to keep the chin level. Deep breath in, slow, gentle exhale. Let's take just another deep, full breath into that shoulder, the arm. And gently we'll release that left arm, let that left arm come back down, take a moment, shake it out. And let's do that onto the other side. We'll bring that right arm up. Let's see if we can touch the back of our shoulders, the elbows to the sky, and then we'll use that left hand to gently encourage that right elbow towards the midline of our body. Feel that beautiful stretch into the shoulder, the tricep. Again, eyes can be closed. We're keeping our head level. Just send a few breaths here into the shoulder, the back, the arm. Deep inhale. Slow exhale. Let's take one final deep breath here. And gently, we're going to release that arm. Let the arms come back down to the side. And you can just shake it out. And let's make our way back to the floor. And we're going to finish up with some twists just before our savasana. So let's gently make our way back to lying on the mat. Let's hug those knees into the chest once again. Draw some circles onto the ceiling, releasing the lower back. Maybe a couple circles to the left and a couple circles to the right. And then with the knees towards the torso, we'll just bring those arms out to cowboy surrender or out to a T. Let's let the knees drop to the right as we gaze over to the left. And if you want, you can use that right hand to assist the twist. That beautiful deep inhale. That slow, gentle exhale, imagining there's just a little bit more space. We can get the knees a little closer to the floor on the right side. Stay with that breath, that beautiful inhale. Once again, let the torso expand. We're encouraging the breath to go to the front, the sides, the back of the body. And then letting that go. Let's do one final breath here. And as we let that breath be nice and slow and exhaling as long as possible, we're then going to activate the core muscles, belly button to spine, bringing the knees back up through center. Take a moment. And we'll gently twist to the opposite side. So we'll just let the knees drop to the left this time. Again, we're trying to keep that right shoulder planted to the mat. You can use that left hand if you'd like to assist the twist. As we gaze away from the legs. As we take the breath, maybe notice how this side feels in comparison to the other. Maybe they're very similar, maybe they're a little bit different. Take that beautiful deep breath in, and then with the exhale, just let ourselves surrender. Deep, full breaths. One last full inhale, let the entire torso again intending that the front, the obliques, the back of the chest is expanded with that deep, beautiful breath. And then as we let that breath once again be nice and slow, slowly dissipating. We'll use those core muscles. We'll bring the legs back through center one final time. Hug the knees into the chest, whatever feels good. And we'll transition into our savasana, the lying corpse pose. We can just let the legs come out. They can be bent or straight. We want to make sure we rock the right and the left shoulder under. Let the hands be supported by the mat. And the chin is slightly tucked. And as we take that next breath in, let the torso expand. Imagine that we're completely surrendering on that exhale. And let's bring back our I am phrase one final time. Let's just see the words come across our mind's eye. I am abundant, peaceful, prosperous. 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 I am abundant, peacef And let that slowly dissipate as we come into stillness for just these last few moments. You are at a time in your life of big changes. Changes you had no idea were coming. These changes have forced you to dig deeply inside the many chambers of your heart to discover the wonderfulness of your being and a strength that you were simply unaware you had. Perhaps you are getting a taste of this strength for the first time. Be unafraid of your lush and beautiful succulents. Instead, dance. Dance in front of the moon. Dance in the fullness of your being. Keep dancing. The rest of you will catch up. You are magnificent. So take another deep breath in, just bringing ourselves back to our body. Let that breath again slowly dissipate. When you're ready, you can start to wiggle your fingers and toes. And start to stretch any way that feels appropriate as we bring ourselves back to the room and back into this moment. We'll slowly start to make our way over to our right, coming into recovery. And take this opportunity to check in. Notice how the body is feeling. How is your state of mind as we come to the end of our practice today? And if it feels good, you can always take and set that intention of taking this relaxation into the rest of the day and until we meet at the mat once again. And we'll slowly start to make our way up through to a seated position. Of course, there's never any rush. And the eyes can be closed or gently gaze forward. Take that final deep breath and rotate those arms overhead. And as the exhale, we'll bring the hands to our heart center. And we just thank ourselves for taking this opportunity to practice once again. Namaste. Oh, how was that, Donna?